It was a huge win for the Roughriders.
Ball comes loose. Kidwana Jones has it. Kidwana Jones scores.
After losing 3 straight, Saskatchewan got back to its winning ways and got itself back in the hunt for first in the West.
Touchdown!
Today, Bishop and the boys look to make it 2 in a row. It's the Stamps and the Riders, and it's next. Well, when you play the Riders, you better have your chin strap buckled up tight because this guy, Maurice Lloyd, and others will come hard. So does Nick Lewis. He's got 8 touchdowns to his credit for the Calgary Stampeders. It is the CFL on TSN. Game 2 of our Thanksgiving Day doubleheader. Earlier today, we showed you Montreal beating Hamilton, and now we're going out west. Happy Thanksgiving to you, coast to coast, wherever you are. I think I can smell the turkeys. They're just coming out of the oven in the east.
Got one for Schultz.
That's right. And in the west, they're still kind of bubbling there. So sit back and relax. We got a good game for you. Dave, Jock, Matt, and Chris. McMahon Stadium in Calgary is sold out for a first-place battle in the CFL's West Division, where we have a 4-way deadlock for top spot. As of right now, Edmonton forced out with a win over the Lions on Friday night. Saskatchewan, we've talked all season about the injuries and adversity they've had to deal with and being the champs and all that. But one thing has been consistent since week 1 with that team, hasn't it, Matt?
That's right, Dave. It's right in the middle of that defense, and it's Mo Lloyd. I love the way this guy brings it, and he's flanked by Sean Lucas. And on the other side, you've got Ronald Williams, who's filling in for Anton McKenzie. There he is. That's the man who triggers that defense, and that defense has been a constant through all the adversity in Saskatchewan. There's the look of Sean Lucas. This guy flies around. He's like another DB that brings the leather. And then here you've got Ronald Williams filling in for Anton McKenzie. They have great linebacking crew, and they fly around. And the best compliment I can give them is what Mark Trestman, the head coach of the Montreal Alouettes, said a couple weeks ago. This defense plays violently, Schultz. I like that.
I like that, too. And you're exactly right. I mean, that defense has won games for the Saskatchewan Roughriders just as a collective group of 12. But I thought last week the reason that the Riders won was Michael Bishop at quarterback. I mean, he was hot. He was 12 for 13 in the first half. The question is, can he do it again? No, we saw another young quarterback in Quentin Porter who was playing the same football team that he did previously, and he really struggled. Can Michael Bishop put together another performance? You know what? I think he can, because he's calling his own plays. That makes him feel confident, man. And I think that's the single biggest issue for him, is remain confident.
You talk about Bishop, let me talk about Burris, other side of the football. You know, one of the things that Calgary Stampeder fans are going to be thinking about is how is Henry going to perform when we get to the playoffs? What's the knock been? Well, sometimes doesn't take care of the football. Last year, we saw Henry struggle taking care of the football, and then he corrected it halfway through the season. Well, this season, he's got 7 fumbles on the year. Just as a point of comparison, Anthony Cavillo has got 1 fumble. And so this has been a problem that Henry's had over the years. Now, I think this is something he can correct. And I know that because we saw him do it last year. He started tucking the ball when he was in the pocket. He started taking special care of the football. And this is what Henry has to work on as we approach the playoffs.
I do love that quote from Trestman, though, about Saskatchewan's defense. He said they play violent, but he also said they play clean. You know, clean but violent. And we will see some clean violence today on Thanksgiving Day. Calgary and Saskatchewan. Here comes the home team. This is a rematch from a week ago. Saskatchewan won in Regina. Calgary's looking for payback today.
Happy Thanksgiving from McMahon Stadium. TSN, the exclusive home of the CFL. And proud home of the 2008 Grey Cup game. Well, it is a first-place day weather-wise, to be sure. Temperature 16 degrees. And the wind shouldn't be much of a factor under a bright sky in the foothills. Ken Miller's Roughriders snapped a 3-game losing streak last Friday at Mosaic in what might have been their biggest win of the year. And now the stakes get even higher. And for John Huffnagel's Stampeders, a 4-game win streak halted last week. He told his team that we can't finish first unless we win today. Of course, first place and the season series on the line.
And this has become one of the most intense rivalries in Canadian football, both on and off the field.
Sellout crowd filling in at McMahon. And away we go as Sandro DeAngelis sends it downfield, and Hugh Charles, in his second game as a Rough Rider, just gets beyond the 20-yard line. Short return as the Stamps fired up on cover teams, and Michael Bishop comes off his best performance maybe in the Canadian Football League a week ago.
I really thought it was. 20 of 27, over 70% for Michael Bishop, 242 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. He'll have Neil Hughes in the backfield with him. Chris Getzlaff got involved in the offense last week. Dressler was their leading receiver once again. Changing the O-line now. Gene Mikowski moves to center for Jeremy O'Day. Parento in at guard.
First down and going to work. Corey Grant's got a catch right around the 30-yard line. Pulled down there by Brandon Smith.
And I should mention Chris Best starting in that offensive line for Saskatchewan against that defensive front for the Calgary Stampeders, who have Charleston Hughes, who's playing very good football over the second half of this season, has 4 sacks and 52 tackles so far this year. Salim Rashid at middle linebacker is settling in, and changes in the secondary now. Lenny Walls will start at halfback for Bannister, Milton Collins for Lysak at safety.
2nd and 2, Neil Hughes with the carry off the right side. And he should be close to the first down. Miguel Robide at the bottom of the pile wrestled away the football after the whistle.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that right out of the gate. Chris Best starting for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the offensive line. Gene Mikowski, the veteran, will move inside, and he takes that center spot for Jeremy O'Day. Mark Parento now plays guard as well. So lots of changes in the offensive line for Saskatchewan. We'll watch to see how this new unit plays, because protection for Michael Bishop, crucial if Saskatchewan wants to win back-to-back games against Calgary.
Chris Best, a Calgary product, who said he was vibrating with excitement even yesterday.
Yeah, never quite heard that way, the butterflies and everything else, but
that's
vibrating, yeah, vibrating with excitement.
Well, they'll miss the leadership in the middle of Jeremy O'Day, to be sure, but they can lean on a guy like Gene Mikowski, two-time top offensive lineman in the league. It is a first down for the Roughriders at the Saskatchewan 31. Dressler in motion to the short side of the field. And Michael Bishop looking that way. And Dressler, did he catch it? Yes! Another sensational Weston Dressler catch.
He just continues to get it done. Weston Dressler, 2 games versus the Calgary Stampeders, and he has 170 yards in those 2 games. Watch how nonchalant and casual he is. He only has one hand, and that's all he needed to pull that one in and get things going for the Riders offensively.
Challenge flag is out. Dressler telling Joanne Simpson there's no need to challenge it. That was a great catch, and it's going to give us and referee Glenn Johnson another look at it. I don't think John Huffnagel believes he could make that kind of catch.
Well, he was the all-purpose yardage leader coming in for this team, a rookie in the lineup. Did he keep it off the turf? I thought it hit his knee and bounced right into his stomach. I think that's a catch.
Off the leg.
Calgary is challenging the ruling of a catch on the play. I'll review it.
Just gives us more angles to admire it. 35 yards off the leg and cradled into the arms.
And the left hand, I don't think ever touched the football. He caught it with one hand off his knee because that other arm was being pulled back by the defender.
Well, it's a 35-yarder pending Glenn Johnson's confirmation, but it's more evidence for the Rookie of the Year voters in the Weston Dressler camp anyway. And it's going to be a good vote with Stefan Logan in BC, Tristan Jackson in Edmonton, and Dimitri Sumpas we'll talk about today, the outstanding season he's had at right guard for the Stampeders.
And tough to compare an offensive lineman with the receiver when you talk about statistical categories, but Weston Dressler has become the #1 receiver for Saskatchewan in a year that Saskatchewan has lost so many receivers. DJ Flick is apparently very close, and you can't cover much better than Lenny Walls does on that play. I mean, he's right stride for stride, has some help from the safety Milton Collins on the inside, and somehow Dressler in that little window off his knee and onto his stomach. And I know they're taking a long look at this, but it didn't look like it touched the ground. How about this angle? I don't think it does.
Glenn Johnson's out from under the hood.
After review, the player caught the football against his leg. It never hit the ground. Ruling on the field stands.
Dressler said, I could have told you that a few minutes ago. But it is a 35-yard.
You know, and what's amazing about Weston Dressler, he is 5'7", 179.
Five 100-yard games, 4 in the last 5, and
plays like a giant.
he's the go-to guy in Saskatchewan right now. On a roll, Corey Grant, second catch. Boyd Anderson there defensively, but doesn't bring him down. Extra effort from Grant. Close to another Saskatchewan first down.
Great second effort there by Corey Grant. Fight for extra yardage, and once again early in this game now, like they did last week, Saskatchewan is going to try and get Michael Bishop outside. They run the fake to the running back inside to Neil Hughes and then bring Bishop out on the edge. What it does is it takes away half the field, but it does put Michael Bishop in his comfort zone because he loves to throw off the run and was as accurate as I've ever seen Michael Bishop a week ago, and then Grant does some work with the football afterwards.
Bishop with a smile on his face.
That was an amazing night. 20 for 27 for Bishop.
13 of his first 14 in that game. Hot to start here. Corey Grant down, and we'll step out to be right back to McMahon. Help to the sidelines. They go double tight ends, and Hugh Charles with his first carry, and it's going nowhere. Door slammed shut. Juwan Armour stepped up from his weak side linebacker position.
One of the reasons that Michael Bishop rolled out a ton last week and was on the run is because there is no Wes Cates in the lineup for Saskatchewan. They do have Hugh Charles, a newcomer, and they'll go with Neil Hughes.
Going with Hugh and Hughes, and it's 2nd and 11. Time for Bishop. Looking downfield, overthrows, and that one is intercepted in the end zone by the safety, Milton Collins. And Collins tripped up. Big tackle there by Chris Getzlaff, but Collins brings it out across the 25. First turnover of the game goes Calgary's way. Safety plays center field and has his first CFL interception.
Getzlaff is the target, and he's just running a post right across the middle, but Collins has played way off that post. The overthrow by Michael Bishop. Collins comes up with an interception. Getzlaff actually makes the tackle on him, too.
Important tackle because Collins had a lot of room, and not much there for Joffrey Reynolds as he was wrapped up by Ronald Williams.
Henry Burris on pace for 5,000 yards passing and should be on pace for a personal best running the football. We have Joffrey Reynolds, who we see more this week than we did last. There's a receiving corps with Kenyon Rambo, leader in the Canadian Football League, and the offensive line, and Dimitri Sumpas, likely their nominee for outstanding rookie, and why not?
Starting lineup brought to you by Holiday Inn Hotels. Look again at Holiday Inn, 2nd and 8. And Burris pumps once, looks downfield, and wide open, Kenyon Rambo. And no one will catch him. Touchdown! 72 yards from Burris to the top receiver in the CFL.
We've got a shootout in the Wild West early in this one. Something you don't see very often from the Saskatchewan Roughriders is a bust in their coverage. They do not give up many big plays. In fact, in 3 games versus Calgary, they've only given up 2 big plays, over 40 yards. Make it 3.
Biggest play of the year for Rambo, and his 7th touchdown catch.
Don't hit
as he regains the league lead in receiving. Extra point good by DeAngelis. A 2-play touchdown drive for Henry Burris.
James Johnson, the corner for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who jumped.
Got more to go, baby.
Jermaine
Happy
Copeland.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Real simple route combination for Calgary, and out by Copeland, a go by Rambo, and a busted coverage for Saskatchewan.
Tenete Hurd from his 11. Cuts it back, looking for a crease, And a flag down as he's brought down at the 34. Jabari Arthur in on the tackle for the Stampeders.
Quickly. So Rambo, he is
Holding Saskatchewan, number 14, on the run back, 10-yard penalty,
James
first
Patrick.
down.
Rambo's going to run the go route in this situation, and he's right there going straight down the field. Now Rambo heads down here. Copeland does this. Watch James Johnson right here jump up and jump Copeland. He jumps Copeland on the out right there and lets Rambo go behind him. Busted coverage by James Johnson.
And 2 plays after the interception, tossed by Bishop. And on the end around, Dressler's got it. Weston Dressler across the 25 and close to 7.
Complementary routes between Copeland and Rambo. As Rambo comes to the outside here, and you see Rambo go down the field and Copeland going to the outside, watch the mistake made by James Johnson. He sits on the out. Frazier is turned to go to the out. 2 receivers covering the out to Copeland. Nobody in the back end covering Kenyon Rambo.
Make it 8 for Dressler, 2nd and 2. And the second man through is Charles, cut down. Good tackle there. Sean Simpson. And Charles will be short of the first down.
Well, we saw a couple of big plays out of the gate. Weston Dressler got Saskatchewan to decent field position. Then the turnover by Milton Collins has grabbed the momentum for Calgary. Rambo took that momentum another step, and now the defense is fired up for a quick 2 and out.
Breeze swirling here. Flags look like they're in the face of Jamie Borum. And Marcus Howell hot foots in field and then gets popped.
Wow, is that Chris Zarka?
The fullback put a dent in Marcus Howell, and the Canuck truck with a smile on his face as he heads to the sidelines.
And Marcus Howell has to regroup there. You don't often see that straight-on collision in the open field between a punt returner and a cover man. But watch that. Oh, boy, that's a big, big hit. That's going to leave a mark on Howell. Amazing that neither player went down.
Stopped in his tracks right at midfield. Good field position, second possession, Calgary. Joffrey Reynolds, his 5 carries last week, brings this one down close to the 48-yard line against this tough Saskatchewan Roughrider defense.
And it's a defense that gets John Chick back in the lineup. He's off the 9-game injured early, and they need him in there. 2 sacks, his 6th start on the season due to injury. There's the linebacking core. Matt Dunnigan in the pregame show talked about the leadership of Maurice Lloyd, the heart and soul of that defense in the middle. And then James Johnson, who had a pick last week, but James Johnson had the bust early on in Kenyon Rambo's touchdown.
2nd and 4. Burris rolling to his left and now cuts back, pulls it down, and has a first down to the Saskatchewan 40. He ran the ball 13 times last week.
Well, that's interesting because Henry Burris had a bit of a turf toe right around the Labor Day time of the season, and that is healed for him, and he will use the running game. I know that Henry Burris doesn't like to be considered a running quarterback. He likes to be considered just a passer. But the bottom line is that running the football for Henry Burris is a huge part of his game.
9 yards there, 166 yards rushing against Saskatchewan so far this season. Off the right side, it's Joffrey Reynolds for 4.
Because when you look at Henry Burris, there's a lot of good running quarterbacks in the CFL, like Kerry Joseph in Toronto. Kerry Joseph is second to Henry Burris when you look at yards and the average. Casey Printers has a high average. Jarius Jackson in BC. Burris is on pace for 94 carries this year, which would be a personal high for him after 13 a week ago versus Saskatchewan, as you mentioned.
You mentioned the turf toe, just 20 carries in the previous 5 games, so it's feeling better, and he'll be using his feet more. Pass for Copeland, in and out of his hands. Eddie Davis in coverage. And it will be 3rd down, and Sandro DeAngelis will come onto the field.
And Henry Burris can throw from the pocket, don't get me wrong. I just think that his ability to run is something that he doesn't like people to really talk about, and he likes to consider himself a pocket passer. But it can break down a defense in a hurry when you get outside and you run. I mean, Michael Bishop showed you last week how effective it can be when the quarterback is outside of containment, and Burrs can do the same thing for Calgary.
Great numbers for DeAngelis so far this year. And now looking at a 42-yarder with Brett Ralph holding. And DeAngelis money again. And the Stamps open up a 10-0 first quarter lead. Back at McMahon Stadium, where Jermaine Franklin is on the sidelines with Commissioner Mark Cohon.
Thank you very much, Chris. And the Commissioner has some pretty exciting news for us when it comes to the Grey Cup halftime show.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the halftime. We've got 3 great brands. We're celebrating Canada. That's what we're doing. So we have Theory of a Dead Man, Susie McNeil, and Andre Waters. And what we really want to do is say, this is our league, and we got our performers from across this country performing at the Grey Cup this year.
Now, obviously, the Grey Cup is in Montreal. Can you talk a little bit about the ticket sales?
No, ticket sales have been great. Over 50,000 tickets have been sold. I think there's about 41 days left, so you better get out there and get your tickets because it's going to be sold out, I think.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
There's Deron Walker, and Deron Walker across the 50-yard line into Calgary territory. Michael Bishop on the money. And it's a 26-yard pickup in a game that would mean a giant step towards Montreal.
And Michael Bishop right back into his comfort zone. Watch where he likes to do and get outside. He loves getting outside and throwing on the run, threads the needle. Very accurate again when he's throwing on the move.
There's that small window, but Bishop on the money. 1st and 10. Now rolls left, looks downfield over the head of Corey Grant.
There's one way I believe the Calgary Stampeders are going to try and counter Bishop on the run to the outside. We used to call it the zap technique. Right now, Michael Bishop is running this type of fake. He goes to the fake to the back, gets outside, and last week, the Calgary Stampeders feathered that. They contained it through time and widened. The zap technique changes that. The same fake into the middle. Bishop, instead of getting to the outside, now the contained man, if it's the end for Calgary, will come up and zap him. Try and get him right out of the backfield and get the ball out of his hands.
2nd and 10 from the Calgary 49. Here comes pressure, picked up. Bishop looks for Dressler, and he can't bring that one down. Tight coverage, jostling all the way downfield with Brandon Smith.
Here's an example of what I'm trying to show you with the Calgary Stampeders. I think Michael Bishop here wanted to get outside of containment, but watch how many Stampeders are now going to get wide and try and get him to throw the ball quicker. See, 1, 2, 3 Stampeders outside. There's even 4. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4 outside of containment so that Bishop has to throw from inside the pocket.
Orem will try to pin Marcus Howell. Too much air on it that will sail into the end zone. And Howell steps out. It's a single point. 10-1 Calgary with 5:20 remaining here in the opening quarter.
So Calgary counters defensively and keeps Bishop in the pocket, and he misses the throw. And now Chris Jones, adjustment on the defensive side of the football for Calgary. The key word there is containment, and is to zap the quarterback. That's what we used to call it. I'm sure it's different terminology now, but the bottom line is when you have quarterbacks the quality of Henry Burris or Michael Bishop, if you can get the ball out of their hands quickly, at least you know what you have now. Now you just go and rally to the football and make the tackle.
2 possessions, 2 scores for Calgary here in the opening quarter, starting at the 35. And Burris is going to take another shot to Kenyon Rambo, and just out of his reach. And Henry Burris told us yesterday, he said, we took a lot more shots last year. We haven't done it as much. Defenses are moving up, but we may just go after them early today.
Well, defenses, and I believe Jock Climbing in the pregame show showed you what James Johnson and this Saskatchewan secondary will do at times. They will jump those short and intermediate routes. They will come up. We saw James Johnson already jump a short route and give Kenyon Rambo an 81-yard touchdown. That time he was back, but Rambo still had a step on him.
65 yards in the air. Incomplete, 2nd and 10. Flag down. Burris open. Nick Lewis unable to bring it down. And again, a penalty marker at the line of scrimmage.
The other thing that it does for your offense, when you early in a game send your receivers deep, whether you have success or not, and Henry Burris already has once with the 81-yard touchdown.
Offside, Calgary number 80. Penalties declined, 3rd down.
Jermaine Copeland.
But the one thing that it does do is it gets that defensive secondary off you, and George Cortez knows that it will loosen up as this game goes on, the intermediate route. So if they get in a 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10, they can make that intermediate throw at around 12 or 15, because the DBs for Saskatchewan have now backed off a little bit because of early deep ball success.
First punt for Burke Dales. Good Rough Rider rush, but a booming high punt, and Bird fields it at his 15. Across the 25 and brought down there. Well, John Huffnagel, of course, an offensive specialist, but he does have input on how Calgary handles their defensive schemes.
Chris Jones and I have weekly discussions about the type of offense they're facing. He explains what thoughts he has. Asks if I have any comments on it, and it's a quick conversation, but there's some things that sometimes I say that sticks on the blackboard.
Vastly improved Calgary defense. A 60-yard punt by Dales. Back to work Bishop. Dressler with the catch, and there's the newcomer in the Stampeders secondary, Lenny Walls, last year with the St. Louis Rams.
Good size. Lenny Walls is 6'4", 197 pounds. He's going to have to get used to the live game speed and the unlimited motion in the Canadian Football League. Even though you do that in practice, it's different in the game, and Weston Dressler has already got one big play on him, but Chris Jones likes Lenny Wall's size and likes his ability to cover one-on-one.
He's 6'4", taking the spot of 5'9" Calvin Bannister. 2nd and 4, and Hugh Charles into the secondary and up near midfield. Well, they liked what they saw from Hugh Charles last week. Trying to fill the big shoes of Wes Gates.
7 for 45 last week, and that 6.4-yard average, very good. Salim Rashid, number 43, the middle linebacker, will try and step into that hole. Little hesitation from Hugh Charles, and then acceleration past Rashid's tackle.
Well, Appelese told us that one of the plays he ran last week had not even practiced. Newcomer to the system, Bishop will just throw that one away.
That's the downside, Chris, of full roll, because what happens with full roll with the quarterback is that you've now cut the field in half. The other half of the field and all the receivers that may be on the wide side of the field for Bishop as he comes around this side, the other half of the field is now no longer an option for him. So if Weston Dressler is covered, if your receivers are covered, this is only the area that you have now as a quarterback on full roll. If they're covered, you got to throw it away.
So 2nd and 10 from the Rough Rider 53. Goes to the wide side, pressure, and almost picked off as Charlton Hughes put pressure on Bishop, and Eddie Freeman almost had an interception.
That's Hughes in the zap technique, and that's the difference between this week and last week, as Hughes now is going to step up, and he's going to get to Michael Bishop quickly, who's trying to get out and around the corner. As Bishop rolls out, last week he got the corner and had time to throw. Watch how number 39 gets right up to him in his face. Now that rush is an early throw, that's zapping the quarterback, making him throw it.
3rd punt for Borum. Bouncing around the 25. Borum in there, and he nails Howell. The punter doesn't have to give any yards. There is a marker down, and we'll find out if the referees deemed any other Rough Rider in that 5-yard restraining area. But the former safety got a pretty good shot in as Jamie Borum.
Well, he'll do this. I mean, especially on a kick that is a little wobbly or off his foot, not real deep. because as you mentioned, Chris, the punter can recover the ball. He is onside, so he can go down and recover it. He doesn't have to be outside of that 5-yard restraining zone.
No yards. Saskatchewan number 14. It's a 5-yard penalty. First down.
So Glenn Johnson deemed there was somebody there. It was James Patrick. A lot of talk about a couple of non-no yards calls last week against Calgary, and John Huffnagel had some words with Brandon Browner about one that was called and one that probably should have been called.
Brandon Browner is a specialist at being the arrow. He was a little inside the 5-yard zone on the arrow last week.
At the 33, Stampeders go to work. Joffrey Reynolds strung out and then is swarmed, and he doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage again. Last week, Reynolds with just 5 catches. As the Stamps went to a short passing game that drew a lot of discussion here in Calgary. Whenever Joffrey doesn't get the ball 20 times, George Cortez hears about it.
A chance for Joffrey Reynolds to win the rushing title this year, and I know Henry Burris loves to get Joffrey Reynolds involved, as does George Cortez. They didn't last week, as you mentioned. We'll see him a lot more this afternoon. You can bet on that.
Reynolds leading the league in rushing by 16, coming in over Wes Cates. And Reynolds bounced off first contact and is brought down at the 34, short of the first down. So they've got the leading rusher and the leading receiver in Kenyon Rambo at the disposal of Henry Burris this afternoon.
You know, some teams are easier to screen against than others, and the reason for that is that the strength of a defense somewhere else may be their D-line, and you can get their D-line to get up the field, but the strength of the Saskatchewan defense is their linebacking core. It is tough to screen on Saskatchewan because of that, because that linebacking core will fly to the football.
So Burkdale's back in, Hurd awaits. At the 25, trying to get outside, there's Browner, cuts back, marker down, and Hurd dropped at the 23-yard line. Long snapper Randy Chevrier down quickly, as was, as usual, Brandon Browner. 51-yard punt and a holding call against the Roughriders on the return.
Illegal block. Saskatchewan number 14. On the run back, 10-yard penalty. First down.
Another penalty against James Patrick. Well, your holiday football coverage continues next on TSN with NFL Monday Night Football. Eli Manning and the Giants head to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Live coverage begins immediately following this CFL broadcast and is available in TSN HD.
I wasn't convinced on Eli Manning even after last year. He's playing great again.
Even after last year, you're
yes.
tough. Bishop rolls and throws, and the ball ruled incomplete.
Anytime, well, that one ruled incomplete, but he had a chance. And anytime Michael Bishop gets outside of containment, he's a threat. Now, he can also run the football once he gets wide. And this time, the Riders will bring Getzlaff down in to help him get that corner. You see, number 89, the receiver, come way inside to block that zapper so that Bishop can get the corner. But that takes a receiver now out of the pass routes.
Bagged the intended target, and a good defensive play by Dwight Anderson. 2nd and 10. Little Dressler hit screen, and that one's not going anywhere. Great coverage there by Brandon Browner, and it's another Rough Rider 2 and out. First quarter stats brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
The numbers are pretty close when you look at both teams, but the Calgary Stampeders have had the field position advantage. They got 2 big plays in that first quarter. The interception by Milton Collins in their own end zone that resulted in the next play, a Kenyon Rambo touchdown of 81 yards.
Well, it's a special day, and we'd like to salute the men and women behind the scenes.
That was audio. This is video. Videotape. They're getting all the replays put together, the camera crew. They have a beautiful day today, but they don't always. And All the different camera angles.
Didn't need the long johns today, but they will soon.
They will soon. The 10 cameras in. That's graphics. All the writing that you see on the screen, that's our
guys that keep us on the
stats.
rails upstairs, our engineering department. And the brains of the operation, John Hines, producer, Paul Hemming, director, or Don Moss, our switcher.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving to all of them, and from all of them to you as they pass up a nice turkey dinner for a great football matchup. And Marcus Howell let that one go over his shoulder. And now he's in some trouble and nailed back inside the 40. So it's the wind at the back of Jamie Borum.
Chris, how much did that hit by Chris Zarka on the first punt affect Marcus Howell? Because he looked a little shaky on that one, not only catching the ball, but once he had it, he was looking for cover.
Well, he got hit by Zarka, hit by Borum, and this time Mo Lloyd downfield.
This is the Zarka hit in the very first punt. And that'll shake you up.
Yeah, he got Zarka. Big 51-yard Borum punt. Reynolds out of the backfield. And Joffrey uses his strength to chalk up a first down for the Stamps.
Here's Burris now throwing the ball now underneath. He had that first quarter early success to Kenyon Rambo deep. And that time when Joffrey Reynolds came out of the backfield, Reynolds had all kinds of room underneath because the defensive backs for the Riders are going to give them a little bit more room. So you see all the room now that he has right here to run in because of that early deep ball success from Calgary.
John Lucas with the tackle. Reynolds to the sidelines. Demetrius Summers checks in. Quick hitter and a catch. And Jermaine Copeland brought down by Lance Frazier. 3-yard gain for Copeland.
Kenyon Rambo, an 81-yard touchdown in the first quarter. Leads the Canadian Football League. The last time a Calgary Stampeder led the Canadian Football League in receiving, it was Alan Pitts back in 1999. He won that title 4 times for the Calgary Stampeders, and Rambo would be the first since.
7. And there is a wide open Jermaine Copeland for a first down to the Roughrider 39. Copeland with 8 catches last week. Rambo had 12, so 20 of the 29 completions for Henry Burris last week were to those 2 targets.
Yeah, and Jermaine Copeland and Kenyon Rambo, Chris, will line up often on the same side. So you start to work combination routes with them, you're going to get Jermaine Copeland open on a lot of those intermediate routes, and then Rambo can be your deep guy.
This time Copeland to the wide side, Rambo short side. 1st and 10, plenty of time. That pass almost picked off. Eddie Davis read the play, looking for his first interception of the year.
You know, you have to have confidence, and certainly Eddie Davis, who, as you mentioned, surprisingly does not have an interception, but it's not because he has not been playing well, because there's Copeland right there, and he's going to try and run that in route. And watch how Eddie Davis shows so much confidence by letting him go by him and then trailing him underneath. So now he's just saying, look, I know what my responsibilities are. I just have to fall underneath the receiver, and I got a chance. And he just lets one slip through his fingers there.
They load up the line, safety blitz. Burris quickly, and incomplete, intended for Copeland in the flat as the Roughriders turned up the heat.
A lot of different looks from this Saskatchewan Roughrider defense, and they will change things up on you from week to week. Doesn't matter if it's a short week or not. They have the guys on the defensive side of the ball that can adapt and change on the fly. Last week, they showed a lot of safety blitz from their safety, Scott Gordon.
Offside, Calgary number 82. That penalty's declined. 3rd down.
And this time they show a halfback blitz from the secondary, meaning either Lance Frazier or Eddie Davis will blitz. Henry Burris has to be ready for almost anything when it comes to the Saskatchewan defense.
Yeah, Jeff Pilon was saying yesterday, it is a challenge when you play Saskatchewan because you never get the same look 2 games in a row. Last week it was, as you mentioned, Scott Gordon blitzing on almost every play in the first half from his safety spot. 46-yard attempt for DeAngelis, trying to expand this Calgary lead. And Sandro misses this one. And Dressler thought about running it out. Instead, he concedes a single, and it's a 10-point Calgary lead.
Hi, I'm Michael Bishop, quarterback of Saskatchewan Roughriders. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving across Canada.
And our thanks to Michael Bishop, who, after last week's game, returned home to Houston to visit with his newly born daughter, Madison. Also told me he has a nephew, a high school quarterback, who unfortunately broke his leg in a game last week. The same night he lit it up against the Stampeders. A catch for Chris Getzlaff on the sidelines at the 44 of Calgary.
Well, some kind of throw and catch here from Michael Bishop. First of all, he throws it into, again, a small window. The Calgary Stampeders doing a real nice job of coverage. A better job this week than last. Juwan Armour's secondary contain. You see Lenny Walls right in position on Getzlaff, but didn't matter.
Big time catch for Getzlaff, who had a great CFL debut last week with 5 grabs and a touchdown. Bishop in trouble and throws that away to avoid the sack as Salim Rashid, the middle linebacker, had turned up the heat on the Rough Rider quarterback.
And this is what they have to do, because last week Calgary Stampeders allowed Bishop outside with room to run or throw. And when he got into that comfort zone, boy, was he accurate. You mentioned, Chris, just one incompletion in the first half. I thought it was his best game, and so did his head coach.
Second and 10 at the Stamp 44. Good time, and he guns that. Incomplete, intended for Dressler. And Dressler had Lenny Walls all over him.
Yeah, and I think Dressler and Bishop both wanted a pass interference call there on Lenny Walls, who they are really going after in this first half to test out the rookie halfback. And there's Dressler right here, and he's going to go one-on-one on the in route. And you'd be the judge. Was there contact made before the ball arrived? Well, Dressler went down, then the ball went past them, and then Walls landed on top of Dressler, and that's a great no call by the officials.
So Luka Kanji on to attempt a 51-yarder. Just under 90% this year. Kanji's had a great up, and it is drilled through. Kanji's got a new season high, and the Rough Riders cut the lead to 7. 7-4. Stampeders with the lead and the ball, scrimmaging at their own 35. Double tight ends and Reynolds. Back tripped up in the backfield. Eddie Davis shot in there and stops Reynolds for a loss of 2.
This is a blitz designed by Saskatchewan to stop the run. And I know blitzes you often see in passing situations, on second and long, passing downs. But sometimes it's beneficial for a defense to blitz on first down to stop the run. It cancels all the gaps. Eddie Davis canceled that gap.
Davis, a 4-time All-CFL player and a former Stamp. Here comes the safety blitz. Burris just got it away, and it falls incomplete to Scott Gordon. Put the heat on Henry Burris.
All kinds of different looks for Henry Burris in this second quarter as he tries to figure out exactly where Saskatchewan is sending the pressure from. They've sent a couple of pressure blitzes from the halfbacks, Eddie Davis or Lance Frazier. The last play, Scott Gordon. So the secondary involved now in pressure on the quarterback.
Defense getting stout now as Calgary has had 3 2-and-outs in this first half after scoring on their first 2 possessions. High punt by Dales. Down to Hurd at the 26. Trying to get outside. And a flag down as Hurd is tripped up at the 32. That's a 49-yard punt by Dales. On the return by Shepherd. The ball back at the Saskatchewan 20, a pump, and Michael Bishop going to air it out, looking for Duran Walker off his fingertips when he had a step.
He did have a step, and at the end, just at the end of that play, when the ball was about to arrive, it looked like Duran Walker hesitated. He sort of stutter-stepped right there, and then he tried to reach for it, had it in both hands. A perfect throw by Michael Bishop, and a catch Duran Walker should have made.
And another attack on the newcomer, Lenny Walls. Second and 10. Rolling to the right side, Hughes blocking, but they get to him. The first sack in 4 games by the Stampeders against Saskatchewan this year.
Armour and Hughes are the 2 guys. Juwan Armour, the linebacker, and Hughes coming across. They're the guys who are going to get there. And Armour starts out right here. Watch how he widens. He knows that Bishop wants to go on that rollout, so now he's going to come secondary contain. Now you got Hughes outside, and there's Juwan Armour who helps out, and they race for that sack as they're not allowing Bishop that corner quite as easily as they did a week ago.
Charleston Hughes gets credit for his 5th sack of the year from his end zone. Borum to kick at midfield. Howell. And Marcus Howell down to the 43-yard line. We have seen a lot of teams concede the safety. We don't see it here, and Calgary's got the football at the Saskatchewan 43.
And in this case, Saskatchewan had a pretty good win behind them. And I'm wondering if Ken Miller thought that he could get maybe a bigger kick out of Jamie Borum there. But excellent field position now for the Calgary Stampeders. They're first down away from 3 points rather than 2 if Ken Miller gives up the safety.
45-yard punt by Borum. Good return by Howell, so see if Burris can take advantage. Stepping out of the pocket, and wide open Brett Ralph. And Ralph finally taken down by James Johnson. I like the nickname that Rod Black and Dwayne Ford have given him. Number 11, 7-11, because he always seems to be open.
And Henry Burris told me about 4 weeks ago that when he scrambles, he looks for Brett Ralph first. And that's saying something when you have Kenyon Rambo, the league's leading receiver, you have Jermaine Copeland, Nick Lewis, that they look for Brett Ralph. He will scramble to the side deliberately that he knows Brett Ralph is on because he adjusts routes in the scramble rules better than anyone.
25-yard pass play, first down, play action. Burris, a lot of steamboats. Can't find anybody, and now throws in the end zone. Copeland, touchdown! Too much time!
Henry Burris' ability to extend the play with his legs. How many seconds does he have to allow his receivers who are initially covered to work themselves open? Play side is to the left, nothing there. Keep counting. Seconds running. Receiver's starting to get open, and he finds Copeland in the back of the end zone.
18-yard touchdown toss. And Jermaine Copeland has his 5th major of the year.
Don't hit the set.
DeAngelis, the extra point. It's a 2-touchdown Calgary lead.
Play to the wide side of the field, and he just found a little open area and took off to it.
There's that offensive line that everybody wondered, could they give Henry Burris time in 2008 with 3 newcomers, a couple of raw rookies.
Henry Burris said they had maybe their best week of practice this week getting ready for this game, and it's showing.
Weston Dressler trying to get things going, but nothing doing. Mark Kalist downfield with a big cover tackle.
Mentioned the scramble rules for Jermaine Copeland, and basically the scramble rules are this. If you're the short receiver, then you go deep. So watch Copeland here. He's going to do the curl. Now hold it there, guys. Now watch what he does. He's the short receiver, but he sees an opening. And when he sees the opening, he takes off to that opening, finds it, and he knows that Burris, if he can find him, he's got a chance. And there it is.
First and 10 at the 23. Hugh Charles tries the left side and right into the teeth of the Stamps defense.
That momentum now just all with the Calgary Stampeders as Burris moves the football. He's got some big plays offensively, but the defense has responded. They've not let Michael Bishop get outside and run around and have his way in the passing game. And they're also now putting Saskatchewan in second and long situations on every single series.
Second and 10. Complete to Dressler. All the way up close to midfield. Another big Weston Dressler catch. And the Roughriders needed it.
Well, they get protection up front, and that's how it starts because the pressure from the Calgary Stampeders is picked up. First of all, watch Michael Bishop. He has a chance because the pressure picked up right there. Now he gets Dressler, who's been working one-on-one on Lenny Walls all game long, and gets inside position on him. Good throw and catch.
32 yards for Weston Dressler. First down. Charles out of the backfield. Worked the first tackle. Dwight Anderson couldn't bring him down. And steps out after a pickup of close to 9 yards.
That will be the nominee for Saskatchewan for Outstanding Rookie in the Canadian Football League. You got to believe he's a front runner, although we have two good ones in this game in different ways. You hear all the time, Chris, coaches talk about the measurables. How tall are you? You know, the size of your hands, the size, how fast you run, how much weight you can lift. Weston Dressler doesn't have a lot of those measurables.
He just makes plays. Corey Grant stretching out, 2nd and 3, and Grant with a big catch to the 40-yard line.
He doesn't have a lot of those measurables because he's not a big guy. He's quick, not necessarily breakaway speed, but you just said it, Chris. He makes plays, and he's made a bunch of them.
Paul Apolli said, you know, you hope your rookie can make a few plays. If he's good, you hope he can take pressure off some of your mainstays. But in the case of Weston Dressler, he's become Saskatchewan's Kenyon Rambo. He's become the go-to guy, especially with all the injuries. That one looking for Dressler, and it is intercepted. And Lenny Walls with the pick, as Michael Bishop might have forced that one into Weston Dressler. First CFL game, first CFL interception.
Well, and the first, you know, real bad throw by Bishop. That overthrow to Milton Collins was one thing, but this ball was thrown behind. Bishop has little time, and that ball thrown behind Weston Dressler, that allowed Lenny Walls to get in, and that might have been touched at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it did look like it had been tipped. Let's take another look.
And that's probably why, because it looked like when I saw this one that far behind Dressler, Bishop has been
Major
more
foul,
on target than that.
Unnecessary roughness. Saskatchewan, number 69. It's at the end of the play. We'll move up 15 yards. First
Glenn
down.
January tagged with an unnecessary roughness call. That'll tack 15 yards onto the interception, the second of the game for Calgary.
Who gets their hand on that football for the Calgary Stampeders? Is that Miguel Robidet?
I think it was Robidet, 96.
And Robidet tips it. It goes behind the intended target.
They scored after the last turnover, and this pass for Copeland sails incomplete. Take a look at what happened to Glenn January.
After the play was over, some pushing and shoving. The refs are watching closely. There have been fines handed out of late.
Dwayne Carpenter and Glenn January did some shoving. Calgary had a 4-game win streak snapped last week. In the 4 games they won consecutively, they had 65 points off turnovers.
Lenny Walls must feel like he's the only defensive back on the field right now.
He's getting worked on, but holding up. 2nd and 10. And Burris threw that one behind the intended target. Brett Ralph couldn't reach back to bring it in.
Again, scrambling and finding Brett Ralph, but that ball just a little bit behind him. Brett Ralph makes that catch 9 out of 10 times.
So 3:12 remaining. First half dominated by Calgary, and Saskatchewan needs to get some momentum before they head to the locker room.
Well, they really do, and they get a little bit better field position depending on what happens in the kicking game here, but they've been bottled up in their own end for most of this first half.
Dales has had a heavy leg so far in this game. Moves this one down to the 15. And there's Brandon Browner on the cover team again. The arrow gets there on time. The 3-minute warning given here in Calgary.
Hey everybody, what's up? This is Henry Burris, quarterback for the Calgary Stampeders, and I'd just love to wish all the non-Rider fans, I'm just joking, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
That will keep the rivalry as intense as ever.
Yeah, he has fun with it too, and he knows that the fans are on Henry Burris from Saskatchewan. They have a ton of Saskatchewan fans that come to these games in Calgary. As you mentioned off the top of the show, all 4 games between these two teams have been sold out this year.
Big surge for the Roughriders. Neil Hughes straight ahead. And Hughes with 4. Eddie Freeman there, the run-stopping defensive tackle for the Stampeders.
You know, Neil Hughes has done a pretty good job in relief of Wes Cates running the ball, but the one thing that Wes Cates brought to the table, and will when he returns again, is that ability to come out of the backfield and catch the ball. I mean, Neil Hughes can do it, but not like Wes Cates. Wes Cates' ability to catch was a big part of their offense.
It should be ready next week. Told Ken Miller a couple days ago he was ready for this one. There's Hughes on the backfield, and Browner lost his helmet on that pop, and it's Hughes feeling the worst of it.
Take him out of the game.
Well, there is no more physical corner in the Canadian Football League.
Well, and he get up and he'll challenge you. And in one of the very few times that the Calgary Stampeders drop off in a zone on that side of the field, which almost never happens because they're a man-to-man team, it's the perfect time for Brandon Browner because he catches Neil Hughes coming out of the backfield. I said he can catch, and it's amazing he hung on to that ball because that's some kind of hit.
And John Hufnagel told us yesterday, he says he's the most physical corner that he's ever been associated with in all of his years of football, north and south of the border. And Neil Hughes probably isn't going to argue that point right now.
Not right now, he's not. He's going to need that's one more extra ice bag when this game is over.
Send one back out.
So just over 2 minutes remaining. And the Stamps are going to get a chance to enhance their lead. Howell from his 38. And finds the seam. Marcus Howell before him brings him down at the Roughrider 39. Howell had a 96-yard punt return touchdown last year against the Roughriders.
It's great to see Marcus Howell bounce back from that early hit from Chris Zarka. It looked like that caused him to be a little shaky in the next couple of returns and come back with an aggressive return here. And I love the end of it. Watch the end of it here when he lowers his shoulder to take the hit rather than head straight out of bounds. Fearless for Marcus Howell. He bounced back from that big hit and gets a nice return.
The only Canadian punt returner right now in the CFL. Over the middle, and there's Nick Lewis matching a Calgary record with his 85th consecutive game with a catch, and that ties the mark held by the great Alan Pitts.
And Nick Lewis working on his 5th 1,000-yard receiving season, which is something that Alan Pitts did not do as a Calgary Stampeder. All the great things and great records that he broke. He didn't have 5,000-yard receiving seasons, and Nick Lewis could do it. He's got to get going, but he could do it.
Draw. Reynolds. Not much off the right side. Minute 22 to go. A reminder that we'll be heading back to the guys on the panel. Rona at the half, if they're not stuffing their faces with turkey.
Yeah, I understand it's the big barbecue tonight. Matt Dunnigan's going to cook up the turkey for the whole crew.
Did you get an invite?
I didn't get that. But I'll check again in my emails. I'm going to check again because I sit by the phone and wait for an invite from those guys. And
second and 8. And now Burris takes off. Has room. Inside the 10. First down as he steps out at the 5. Under a minute left here in the first half. And the Stamps poised to maybe put a dagger into this thing in the first half.
Well, he'll do it 4 or 5 times a game, and it really can break down and demoralize the defense. You often need one block out in the open field, and he gets it right there from Joffrey Reynolds, and that's the one that'll allow him to bounce to the outside, pick up the first down and then some, and then get out of bounds without taking a hit.
First and goal from the 5. Joffrey Reynolds. Cut down at the 2.
You get that feeling it's getting that close to the playoffs, and that's the intensity you will see. Joffrey Reynolds got that corner. You could tell by his acceleration he was going to hit the lines full speed, and he does that helicopter hit in the air. Here he comes. He gets to the outside, and then now he's just looking for his hole, and when he gets that hole, he'll cut up here and then leave his feet, and is cut down. James Johnson, one of the tacklers.
Sean Lucas comes across and sends Reynolds cartwheeling. They mark it at the 1, and there is an injured Rough Rider after all of that. And it is James Johnson, the corner.
Boy, I tell you, Sean Lucas probably doesn't get enough credit. Matt Dunnigan talked about it. We're 51 seconds away from going back to the panel, guys, and he talked about it in the pregame show, how great their linebacking core has been this year. Maurice Lloyd is one of them, but Sean Lucas does not get enough of the credit. 73 tackles this season. That leads their team. He also has an interception, but it's the degree of difficulty for Sean Lucas, because Maurice Lloyd and Ronald Williams or Anton McKenzie, when he was playing, they have very different responsibilities. For Sean Lucas, he is an adjuster. He's that tweener, the in-between guy, the DB/linebacker. Has to make those hits on running backs like he just did and has done 73 times this year. But he also has to go and cover guys like Nick Lewis and Jermaine Copeland. So the degree of difficulty way up there for Sean Lucas.
It's a great linebacking core. He's tied for second in CFL tackles. Maurice Lloyd, who Matt mentioned off the top of the show, is 8th. And of course, Anton McKenzie, who's due back next week, they hope, was leading the league in tackles before his shoulder injury.
Ken Miller will get some of these injured players back very shortly, as you mentioned. DJ Flick very close, Wes Cates, Anton McKenzie, and they're saying that Andy Fantuz is almost, like, he may be next week as well. So a lot of the starters becoming available very soon. They don't like to see this, though, with James Johnson getting caught in that mix. And it's Ivan Goodfriend, the trainer, who has had a very busy year.
Yeah, he can ask for overtime this year, I think.
Without question.
So second and goal from the 1. How many goal line stands have we seen this year? Rough Riders want to add to the list. Play action fake. Burris dancing around, and he won't get there. Hauled down. Ronald Williams saves the touchdown and drops Burris maybe for a loss.
Ronald Williams, who replaces Anton McKenzie for the 3rd straight game, and the tenacity of Maurice Lloyd. Go ahead and run it, guys, and watch how these guys just will not quit. Maurice Lloyd coming off the edge. Now watch, he misses him there, but he'll keep fighting back. He gets back and helps out. Ronald Williams gets him low. Maurice Lloyd over the top, and those linebackers again coming up with another big play.
Burris tried to sell a spot at the 1, but they have marked it at the 2-yard line. And the field goal unit has come on. Well, the guys wanted to see some innovation on the goal line situations. Calgary tried something different. It didn't work, and they settled for 3 off the foot of DeAngelis. And now it's a 17-point Stampeder lead.
John Huffnagel the last few weeks has been asked by the media here in Calgary about his red zone, and he showed some imagination there, but the linebacker's so tenacious for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And sometimes when you try and get a little creative, you can get caught. And they got caught there. Great play on defense. But that last yard in 2008 in the CFL has been the toughest yard on the field for offenses.
George Cortez was saying yesterday, I don't want to say it was a give-up down 10 years ago, but it's certainly harder to get that yard now than it was a long time ago in the CFL. So the time will run out here in this opening half as the clock ticks down. And that is the end of 1.5 of football in a critical game. First place in the West on the line, and Calgary leads it.
Is brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, the Canadian how-to people.
And happy Thanksgiving, Canada. Welcome back to our CFL on TSN Studios, 21-4. We hope you and your family and friends are happy and healthy and enjoying this game. I know the Calgary Stampeder fans are. Glenn Suter, he didn't get your call about your turkey dinner after this? He's a little upset.
All I can say is Blackie and Ford got their invites. I don't know about CC and Suter.
Lost in the mail.
Well, we'll see if we can fix that. 21-4 is the score, and a demoralizing start for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in this one. Calgary came out with a purpose, particularly their defense. They get a couple of turnovers, 1 interception in the end zone by Milton Collins, and a couple of plays later, it is in the opposite end zone on a long bomb, the longest bomb of Kenyon Rambo's career. What happened, Jock?
Well, I tell you, James Johnson isn't going to be looking forward to film study tomorrow. And I love James Johnson. He's a fantastic defensive back. He's having a tough football game, and it started with a Kenyon Rambo play, and I'll show you what happened on it. Glenn Suter talked about it. Here's what they did. Johnson right now is got man-to-man. These guys are manned up, but what you're going to see here is the out pattern and the go pattern. And Johnson wants to switch. He wants to switch with Fraser, but when the receivers are this far apart, he shouldn't be expecting a switch. Fraser was center field turning, at his back turned to him. If there was a switch call, he didn't get it, and Kenyon Rambo is off to the races with 81 yards on the touchdown. So that's a big problem, but at least that's a technical problem that can be worked out. This is just an effort issue right here. And here you're going to see there's the coverage right there. You talk about scramble rules, and Glenn Suter talked about it. Receivers go deep. DBs, stick to your man. It's pretty simple. Run where he goes. There's a lack of effort to track him down, and that's what resulted in the touchdown. Those are the kind of plays that you just don't want to see in film.
Those type of big plays are the difference between the last time these two teams played and this time in this competition here this afternoon, but also in terms of Michael Bishop. They're playing great man coverage, the Calgary Stampeders, downfield. Michael isn't getting the corner consistently like he did last time, but watch here. Notice the coverage downfield. They're up at top of your screen on the right and on the left. That's pretty good one-on-one, man-on-man coverage. That doesn't allow big windows for Michael Bishop to throw the football. Here, he tries to thread the needle, but again, the man coverage is right there, right on the receiver's back. Yes, you got to keep trying it and keep trying it because the separation is there. That's a really good throw. And do not stop. If they give you one-on-one, your receiver has to beat that defensive back. If they can do that, Saskatchewan can get back in this game right away.
Schultz, a couple of those times there, that first roll in that you showed there, Michael Bishop was sprinting into the boundary. So your window is going to be smaller to begin with. And they must have seen something in Calgary's defense in order to call those plays. But Michael Bishop is calling his own plays, and he is comfortable in throwing the football on the run. He's very, very accurate. And here we're going to take a picture of it. This is a small window, and that is a strike right there in that small window, and that's what we love about Michael Bishop. And here, the long ball, the wonderful one-handed catch by Weston Dressler, that ball is in the only place it could possibly be. On the other hand right here, look at Henry Burris. He can say, I can go toe-to-toe with you, Michael Bishop. People in my face, Schick hanging all over me. I'm going to throw a strike off my back foot to Copeland.
That's awesome.
That is an unbelievable play here. You're talking about athletes playing the position of quarterback here in the Canadian Football League, and we're looking at two of the best.
Yeah, see, you made a couple plays like that, man, and Matt went on and on and on about that play, about what was involved and the athleticism by Henry Burris.
No, it's just insane. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's the hard work that has been paying off for Henry Burris that he put in during the offseason, getting bigger, stronger, faster. Well, we saw that come into play right there.
You were talking about the rollouts by Bishop. There's been a concerted effort to get him outside the pocket, maybe even too much of a concerted effort. I mean, I believe in moving him around, but maybe not every single play. But that play into the boundary, you're absolutely right, Matt. He was rolling to the short side of the field and had two go patterns to go to. I believe there must have been some kind of bust in the call, because I don't think I've ever seen a rollout into the short side with two go patterns.
Yeah, you take 24 yards of the field, and you play with that, and you take the other 41 and just disregard it. And that's the mindset when you roll into the boundary. Those windows are going to be short, and they're going to be very, very quick and close quickly, and Bishop didn't hit him.
Every team deals with injuries. Calgary's missing Labinjo, Wes Lysak, but I think Saskatchewan's really feeling the absence of a guy like Wes Cates. He's certainly missing.
Amongst others.
Amongst others. It is 21-4. Saskatchewan, or I beg your pardon, Calgary in this West Division first place showdown. See what he got.
Hey, both of these quarterbacks are on pace for good 300-yard performances, but look at Henry Burris, 172 in his passing yards. The first one was for 81 yards. Slightly misleading, but then again, David scored a touchdown, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was definitely good. John Huffnagel had to be happy. He spoke with our Jermaine Franklin.
Coach Huffnagel, can you talk about the play of your defense in this first half?
Yeah, outstanding. They come up with some big turnovers. We able to capitalize on them. Like they got in a touchdown on that last series.
It looked like Saskatchewan was trying to test Lenny Walls, and does it look like he's been passing so far?
Well, I like the way he's played. He's recovered off of some completions, and he came up with a big interception for us.
Thank you very much, Coach.
All right, Jermaine.
Welcome back to McMahon, 21-4. Calgary with the lead. TXN, the exclusive broadcaster of the CFL and proud home of the 2008 Grey Cup. And on the sidelines, Jermaine Franklin with Saskatchewan coach Ken Miller.
Coach Miller, just 4 points in the first half. What has to happen to increase that total?
Well, the thing we have to do is we have to quit making mistakes on special teams. We've really hurt our field position with penalties on special teams. Then we've given up some big plays with our defense, and then we've turned the ball over on offense. We just had to be consistent on offense, quit giving up big plays, and then play more consistently with teams.
How would you assess the play of Michael Bishop, and are you sticking with him in the third quarter?
Well, we're gonna start the third quarter with him. He's been a little bit inconsistent, but he has made some great throws and made some great plays.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jermaine. And Ken Miller's going to have to keep Karen Drake and quick six off the field in this second half. Well, Calgary first half, Weston Dressler trying to get better field position, but that's not been the case all afternoon long here for Michael Bishop and company as we compare the quarterback's numbers through the opening 30 minutes.
Yeah, they look fairly similar when you look at it. The only difference being, I think, when you go down to touchdowns, interceptions, that's where Henry Burris has the two. One to Kenyon Rambo, an 81-yarder, and then one to Jermaine Copeland, and Michael Bishop with two interceptions. One that was tipped at the line of scrimmage, not necessarily his fault.
Roughriders had won their last two visits here at McMahon. In fact, they've split the last 10, 5-5, and they need about a second half comeback. That ball tipped and incomplete. Second pass tipped at the line, and the first was intercepted.
Charleston Hughes has had a very good game so far this afternoon for the Calgary Stampeders on defense. And Hughes is right here in your screen, and a couple times now he has got contained, and he's made it difficult for Michael Bishop to get outside. He also gets the knockdown there. He just keeps adding to his stats in this one this afternoon.
John Hufnagel telling us yesterday he is the most improved player on that Calgary defense. So 2nd and 10. And Bishop hit as he delivered, and that ball over the head of Corey Grant, who didn't see it in flight.
Lenny Walls covering Corey Grant on that corner route, who has been a guy that the Saskatchewan Roughriders have tried to go after in this game because they know Calgary will play a bunch of man-to-man. Chris Schultz talked about it in the pregame and at halftime, and it's what the Calgary Stampeders like to do. They play man-to-man, they play in your face, bump and run man-to-man, and they're testing Walls. He's played well also for Calgary.
Orem with the wind at his back. And Marcus Howe from the 28, and Mo Lloyd there very quickly downfield. A 54-yard punt, 5 on the return.
Son, watch him play and, of course, celebrate the Canadian Thanksgiving. Now, Faye Lewis did not come empty-handed. Apparently, she crossed the border with 30 pounds of briskets. And there's other fixings that she's planning to make for not just her and her son, but a few fellas as well. Sweet potato pie, fried chicken, and if you guys are good, apparently there's a sweet potato pie with your name on it.
That sounds good. There's Faye. And Nick in the first half matched a Stampeder record. The catch in 85 consecutive games. It's a guy who's played hurt all year long, bad knee, bad ankle, bad ribs. Doesn't lead the team in receiving, but does in receiver points in their offensive setup. A valuable guy. Reynolds straight ahead, flag down as Joffrey Reynolds.
Yeah, and I mentioned that early in the first half about Nick Lewis and his 1,000-yard season. He was just shy of 800 coming into this game, and because of those injuries, his number's down a little bit in the yardage department for Nick Lewis. But a couple of receivers in Calgary's history have had 4,000-yard seasons. Travis Moore, Terry Vaughn.
Procedure, Calgary, no end. 5-yard penalty, repeat, 2nd down.
They'll go back and repeat 2nd down. So, you know, Travis Moore, Terry Vaughn, both with 4, and Nick Lewis with 4, and he has a chance if he can get on a little bit of a roll here to finish the regular season, and he's becoming more healthy as the season goes on, and he can get that 5th 1,000-yard receiving season.
Says he is feeling a little bit better. Longer break between games. Safety blitz. Ryan Thelwell first catch. Thelwell has the first down across the 45.
Well, you know, Faye has fed him well throughout his childhood, because this one thing that Nick Lewis will love to do, and he's got good size, thick receiver, good strong receiver, and he loves to block in the open field. He gets a little piece of Eddie Davis there, and he's had some big, devastating hits in the open field and loves to block. Now, they got to be careful, though, with Faye and all that food coming up, that they don't give him too much, because they're getting ready for a playoff run here.
10 for Thelwell, 1st and 10. Reynolds on the ground. Through the arm tackle of Mo Lloyd up to the 54.
Talk again about the importance of this football game between these two teams. I mean, both coaches' message to their teams, we talked about it off the top, but their message was simple, and it was exactly the same. We went to both press conferences, and this is what they talked about. Win this game, you have a chance at first place. Lose this game, you can pretty much forget about that first place run. There's what is at stake. The winner of this one gets first, but also the season series.
2nd and 3. Burris to throw, looking for Rambo, and what a catch. No, it did come loose. As Rambo looked like he made another circus catch. Funny, last week, 8 catches first half, 12 in the game. This week, just 1, but it was a big one for 81 yards.
He's had 5 games over 100 yards, almost a circus catch. He slowed it down the first attempt and then just couldn't hang on, and part of that is because Omar Morgan did not quit in the coverage. he kept pulling him down to the ground, and that made it that much tougher on Kenyon Rambo. Big week, as you mentioned, Chris, a week ago. Just shy of that 100-yard game, but 12 catches, a bunch.
Here's Burke Dales. And Dressler at the 16. And Dressler crunched at the 19-yard line. And will return to McMahon. In Montreal. You heard Ken Miller tell Jermaine Franklin they have to stop getting penalties on special teams. Was an illegal block, and Saskatchewan has to start at their own 9-yard line. It's the 8th time in 11 possessions they've started inside their 25. And a catch in the flat for Chris Getzlaff.
You know, it's really sort of point-counterpoint for these two coaching staffs, because now that the Calgary Stampeders have shown that they can keep Michael Bishop in the pocket, that they won't allow him to get to the corner. Now it's up to Saskatchewan to make the adjustments accordingly and see if Ken Miller can maybe run some bootlegs. Start one way and then boot back the opposite direction.
8 for Getzlaff, 2nd and 2, and Neil Hughes has the first down up at the 23.
They also may be forced to go into some drop back and have Michael Bishop throw from the pocket. I know he is much more comfortable getting out and around the edge, and Ken Miller has actually adjusted the offense to more suit Michael Bishop, which he told us yesterday. But now that Calgary has shown that they're going to stop that, now you have to adjust accordingly.
We did see Bishop in the big 4th quarter come back against Winnipeg in the Banjo Bowl.
There's
the bootleg. Sets up Guns. Dressler wide open, 45-yard line.
Well, that's what it'll do, because you see, when Calgary now decides that we've got to cut Bishop off to the play side, and they're going, okay, here's play side, so we got to get there quickly and cut him off. So what does Bishop do? He bootlegs opposite direction. So go ahead and run it. See how they're reacting quickly to the play side? Bootleg. Bishop now has time on the backside to complete a pass over the
22 for Weston Dressler, closing in on another 100-yard day. 1st and 10, and he hooks up with Dressler at midfield. That should be 100 yards plus for Weston Dressler.
Boy, both these coaches have done such a nice job with their football teams. I mean, you got to remember that for Ken Miller and John Hufnagel, these are rookie head coaches in the Canadian Football League, and they have their teams fighting for first place in the West. And we see these adjustments made game in and game out. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders all year long have never been out of a game, no matter what it says on the scoreboard. Just ask Winnipeg in the Labor Day rematch.
Well, they need a big drive here, and it started inside their own 10, but now up to midfield. First down, and a fumble, and the Stamps are on it. High shotgun snap. They turned it over once on a play like that last week. Shannon James has it, and it's the 3rd Saskatchewan turnover of the afternoon.
Hey, I look pretty good in the camera, but hey, it's Thanksgiving. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving all over Canada, especially in Alberta, at least this side, not the green and gold side, but this side. I'll see you at the game.
This guy's ready for the playoffs, Burris. Burris with a shot at the Saskatchewan fans. Nick's got Edmonton upset now. And Kenyon Rambo with a catch, and James Johnson with a little extra push that draws a flag. And these penalties have hurt, as have the turnovers for Saskatchewan all day long.
Well, and the fact that they turned the football over on that series, because they did get something going. They made some adjustments offensively, went with boot, went with drop back, had some things going until Shannon James right there gets that fumble recovery. A high snap in the shotgun for Bishop. He couldn't handle it. And now Calgary.
Offside. Calgary, number 11. Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Calgary, number 19. It's net 10 yards and an automatic first down.
Here's Kenyon Rambo on the sideline. They're Battling, and it's that push way out of bounds. And let's go back to the fumble. There's Shannon James right there in your screen. And a high snap that Bishop never got the handle of.
So first down after the penalties. At the Rough Rider 42-yard line. Rough in motion. And a slant for Lewis to the 25-yard line.
Well, it's good he made that catch, because I wanted to mention that out of the guys that we asked to do the Thanksgiving's greetings to Canada, and Nick Lewis's was very entertaining, I should say. I think he's the only one that looked into the television lens and said, gee, I look good in that.
Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised, but he saw himself in the camera lens. That's great.
17-yard catch.
Oh, he's going to throw.
Copeland's going to throw out of this, and he's got Lewis. And Lewis unable to spin off Eddie Davis. That's the first time we've seen that this year. The former Tennessee Volunteer quarterback, Jermaine Copeland.
Well, it's not only a successful play for Calgary in this series and in this game, but it also now provides game film heading into the playoff run down the stretch in the regular season. Now, every defense that plays against the Calgary Stampeders has to spend at least 5-10 minutes of their practice time to defend against the possibility of this play.
Back in the green zone, inside the 10. Bootleg, Burris. And throwing deep into the corner, incomplete.
Like to me there, James Johnson really forced Jermaine Copeland to flatten out his route. That was supposed to be the corner, and in the corner route, Copeland is going to basically go on a 45-degree angle. Like, his corner route is supposed to be like that. And what he does is he flattens it out like this because of the play of James Johnson covering. Watch him. He wants to run the corner right out to the corner. Now Johnson flattens him, and when he flattens him on that jump, or excuse me, Lance Frazier, when he flattens him, he doesn't allow him to make that catch.
Second and goal from the 8. Burris to the goal line, batted down, and that's a big defensive play by Sean Lucas, who you talked about in the first half. Touchdown saving play.
You know, and Sean Lucas is playing his best football the last few games. In the last 3 games, Lucas has 19 tackles. He had the big play on the goal line in this one in the first half, and that's another play, the big knockdown on Nick Lewis. So he's just adding to his stats totals, but the last 3 games to have 19 tackles, that's tremendous for Sean Lucas.
So twice now, Calgary inside the 10, and they are stopped, and DeAngelis has to come out. This time attempting from 16 yards out. And DeAngelis makes it a 20-point Calgary lead. 6:01 to play, third quarter. Is going Charleston Hughes with a sack for the Stamps in this game.
Well, Calgary Stampeders have the lead in this game, a comfortable lead, but I know John Huffnagel would like to see an improvement in that category, in the sack totals, but the play of their defensive line, and they're starting to get it. And Charleston Hughes has been a big, you know, shown a great improvement over the last 4, 5, 6 games.
Back to work on offense. Michael Bishop. Corey Grant, 4th catch of the game. Up at the 45-yard line, tripped up by Dwight Anderson.
Big series here for Saskatchewan. Off that last one, they fumbled the football when they got things going, and their defense holds Calgary to a field goal. So Ken Miller now has a chance. Remember back in that second game early in the year against Calgary, the Saskatchewan Roughriders were down 30-4 in the 4th quarter and came storming back to make it 30-25. So Ken Miller knows they can come back.
Second and short. A stutter step from Charles, and he's going to be stopped short of the first down.
You know, and John Huffnagel, he always records how his offense and defense is doing, whether it's a 2 and out. He'll make notes on his little chart there, and I know he's not happy with their production in what they call the score zone or the green zone, and everyone else calls the red zone.
3rd and 1, you're down by 20. Are you surprised that the punt teams come on?
You know, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have had the field disadvantage in the field position for most of this game.
I was just going to say, as I asked you, Ken Miller was surprised because he just pulled them off.
Yeah.
And they're going to go for it. And I thought that this is at the time of less than 5 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter when you think they have to start gambling.
Well, it's inside a yard, too.
Bishop lunging, has to get to the 45. Browner says he didn't. And the Stampeders think they've stopped Michael Bishop.
On 3rd down in the middle of the field, you can challenge the spot. You can't if it's not 3rd down in the middle, and you can on any down on the goal line.
Bishop lunged forward and then spun. And you wonder if that might have stopped the ball from getting forward progress. And
wow,
the spot doesn't reach the 45. That means they're short.
Well, they're going to measure anyway. And let's take a look at another replay as Ken Miller has that flag in his hands. Here's the wide game angle for you. And that initial surge didn't look like it, but you're right, Chris, he rolled after that. Or is that Bishop bent in half right there with Wayne Smith?
Yes, I think it is.
Yeah.
And so even a challenge not likely to net the desired result, but Ken Miller has stepped onto the field to toss it. He wants them to take another look at where they're going to position the football.
Who stood up Wayne Smith? Because it was Juwan Armour goes over the top, and he turns big Wayne Smith inside, and you can see right here that is Bishop bent back of the line. Be tough to get enough evidence, though, to overturn anything in this situation, I would think.
Saskatchewan is challenging the spot. I'll review the play.
See a couple of Calgary helmets at the bottom of the pile, and they surged a yard in there back to the 44 inside the line of scrimmage. So there was a heck of a surge from people like Eddie Freeman, Miguel Robidet. But I'm not sure that was textbook quarterback sneak style from Michael Bishop.
And I'm not sure if there's enough evidence in any of those looks that would be enough to overturn the call, which is Calgary football, and the call was made on the field that Michael Bishop was short. So you know, I mean, you be the judge. Is there enough evidence right here that to overturn this call and say that Michael Bishop crossed that 45-yard line? See, he's lost in the pile there. Now you see him bent there. See, he's right. That's Michael Bishop right there, and he is not across that line in that shot. And here's the other look for you. You're right, Chris. When he turned his body like that, he really. That's him right there. That's the 7 from his jersey, and there's the line right there. So, you know, even then, I don't know that, because you can't see the ball. And the forward progress of the ball is where the mark is made, and I don't know if there's enough evidence in either of those looks to overturn a call here.
Potentially the 4th turnover of the game for the Roughriders.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Calgary.
So a turnover on downs. And for the 6th time in this game, John Hufnagel's crew takes over with field position no worse than their own 53. It's been a field position game dominated by Calgary all day. And this time they start just inside the Saskatchewan 45-yard line. Lewis under pressure. Nick Lewis, one-hand grab, but he paid for it. Ronald Williams with the jolt.
Nick Lewis will go in and tell Ronald Williams that it was a good hit, but it didn't hurt him. think Lewis is thick, though. He can take those hits, and he dishes them out as well. A crossing route, Ronald Williams, who's done a great job in replacing Anton McKenzie, who may be back next week, steps up and puts his helmet on.
Just 2, 2nd and 8. Short drop, quarterback draw. Henry takes off, dives forward, close to the first down. Let's see where they mark this. Had to get inside the 35, and I think they're going to mark it.
I think they'll be short.
Yeah, they're going to mark it on the 36. So a yard and
a bit.
A bit.
Yeah. And John Huffdingle's had the field position advantage for most of this game, and they have a comfortable lead in this game. But I'm sure what's bothering him right now and Huffnagel is that they have not really converted these opportunities into majors.
Well, DeAngelis comes on attempting to make it 13 points off turnovers in this game.
Yeah, if you're a Calgary fan, that's the good news. The bad news is that 13 points could probably be about 27 points if you're converting majors when you get the turnovers.
So DeAngelis from 43 yards out. And as usual, Sandro is money. Just under 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. And the Stampeders up their lead to 23.
That was a good kick. Kept that low in the wind.
Well, we mentioned turnovers, points off turnovers a key, and just the field position dominance. As Calgary's been playing on a short field all season, all game long.
Yes, they have. That's a tremendous field position. That's what I'm talking about, though. And I know the frustration for John Huffnagel will be field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal. And just the one touchdown. It's good that he has a very accurate field goal kicker. That's the good news for Calgary fans. Bad news is that they want to be able to convert those into touchdowns, because if it's a close game, if the offense for Saskatchewan is going here, I can come back and grab you.
Neil Hughes, the ball carrier, and he carries the pile. How about that? Some legs churning there from the Regina product, Neil Hughes, for the first down run.
And the Calgary product helping out in Chris Best there. He was part of that Neil Hughes train to just get a little push going there in the defense. Duane Armour, the linebacker, steps in, and he's trying to stop that momentum. And big Chris Best, number 66, looks like the butterflies are gone for him, and he helps out. Gets a good push for Neil Hughes.
13-yard run. So they give it to him again. This time Collard just beyond the line of scrimmage. Just wanted to mention a lot of excitement in this city about football this weekend. The Calgary Colts beat the Edmonton Wildcats. The Dinos with a win over the Regina Rams, and a lot of people in the press box talking about Calgary football hat trick this weekend. And right now they are 16 and a half minutes away from that.
Week 7, it was 30-4 and ended up 30-25. It's not over yet.
2nd and 9. Bishop has time as Dressler, penalty marker down. Dressler brought down at the Stampeder 43.
Dressler kind of ran an out and then pushed back to the inside. I'm not sure if he was held or he got the pushing call, but you can see by his jersey someone grabbed a hold of him.
Yes, indication it is going against the Stamps.
Illegal contact, Calgary number 2. That penalty's declined. First down.
Duane Armour with the illegal contact, but the Dressler catch stands.
Because the catch was a greater gain than the illegal contact. That's different than pass interference. There's number 2 right in the middle of your screen right there.
18 more for Weston Dressler, 7 for 126. As he continues to mount the stats. Fake to Hughes, Bishop looking for Getzlaff. Great catch inside the 5, and a marker down as Chris Getzlaff is brought down. Let's find out what this flag's all about.
Well, he made a veteran move when the ball was about to arrive with a little bit of a subtle push off. Now, I thought the flag came well after that push. And I've seen this many times, a little push, a little pull from the DB.
Pass interference, Saskatchewan, number 89. 10-yard penalty, repeat, first down.
There was some jostling down there. Paul Appolise said one of the things that impressed him about the touchdown last week was the way he suddenly used his body to cause a little separation. This must not have been as subtle.
Well, it's just down at the bottom, and there's a little push just before that ball arrives. Now, I'll tell you what, for me, I say let him play. But I've said that about the other side of it, too, with defensive backs with a little pull. I think unless you really yank a guy, you don't call pass interference.
That one really hurts. 1st and 20, and a ball dropped by Palmer coming across on a pass that was slightly behind. But instead of 1st and goal inside the 5, it's now 2nd and 20.
You know why, too? Because, and this is another reason, receivers do that on almost every play. I mean, anytime they're running a little out, they'll give the DB a little subtle push when they make their break. And the balls, they'll give them a little push. And DBs like to grab. DBs like to grab that arm a little bit. As long as you don't yank a guy and turn him, shouldn't be a penalty flag.
2nd and 20. Final half minute, the screen doesn't work, falls incomplete.
I tell you, the biggest difference in this game, though, for Calgary has been their ability to cut Michael Bishop off. And it goes right back to the success they had a week ago was with Bishop out on the edge. He was out, and he was running free, and that's where his comfort zone was, and he had the option to run or throw.
They've zapped him today.
They've zapped him. And when Chris Jones designed it, he said that they were in position, but they were a couple steps late last week, and now they're zapping it. They're getting up, they're cutting him off, and they're making it difficult for him to get in that comfort zone.
The last possession, it was a turnover on downs, and now a costly penalty on what looked like one of the biggest plays of the day for the Roughriders. And Borum has to kick it looking for the corner, and this one takes an unfortunate hop into the end zone, and Howell will concede a single point, not what Jamie Borum was looking for. And it's now 27-5 on the final play of the 3rd quarter. Stampeders in control heading to the 4th. 3rd quarter stats brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Well, you look at these two teams, the only thing that really is the difference between the team that has the lead and the team that doesn't is the turnover category.
So those 4 turnovers, really the difference in this game. And you're saying we're going to go back to the Getzlaff play, and that's not too serious, is
No, and that's what receivers do. If you're the receiver and you give me a little subtle push, that's okay, and I let you do that, but I also might grab your arm and give you a little pull. As long as you don't yank a guy and twist him around, or if you're going to do that push off, push him way back violently, it's just such a drastic play. I think you let the guys play. I know I've said it before, and it is up to the officials' discretion, and they have called it consistently. But
well, it was subtle, and it turned out to be 50 yards of real estate, thereabouts. 40-plus yard play and 10 going back the other way on the illegal contact.
And the Saskatchewan Roughriders have a long way to come back, and you have to give Calgary credit. I mean, they would like to have seen more majors scored off those turnovers we showed, because they've settled for field goals, but do have a comfortable lead heading into this 4th quarter.
And now 2nd and 2 from their 43-yard line. Then they're going to throw, and it's Rambo, and Rambo gets nailed. James Johnson flattens Kenyon Rambo, the CFL's leading receiver.
The other thing we haven't emphasized probably enough is the play of the offensive line, that young offensive line for Calgary. Again, they've been able to run the ball pretty successfully. And when you look at the lack of experience in this offensive line, where they total 229 starts, Gene Makowski for Saskatchewan has more than that by himself. and yet Joffrey Reynolds leads the league in rushing. They have the leading receiver in the league. Henry Burris is on pace for 5,000 yards passing.
And behind that offensive line, Reynolds straight ahead, 6 more yards. Lloyd the tackle. It's a well-fed offensive line. Jeff Pilon back. They had their big dinner with the quarterback this week. Pilon won the eating portion of the competition, finishing his 52-ounce prime rib first, along with soup salad and 2 apple cobblers. He said no ice cream. It doesn't really agree with him.
So after the 52-ounce steak, he got the second apple cobbler down?
The second apple cobbler. He said Ben Archibald pushed him a little bit, but they've had Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, man. 52-ounce steak. How long does it take to digest a 52-ounce steak? What are we talking here, a month?
Timeout. Calgary.
No wonder he's been out 3 weeks.
Well, and it's good that he's back, and he is playing in a lot of pain. A lot of players are this time of year, but Jeff Pilon more than any. And he has helped the young guys out. And we've talked about, the nominee for outstanding rookie for Saskatchewan will be Weston Dressler. But Dimitri Sumpas is a guy who I think you could put right up there with Weston Dressler for different reasons. Dressler has the great numbers, and yes, he has become the go-to guy. And when you look at the stats, and the leading rusher in the league, the Calgary Stampeders, they have a quarterback on pace for close to 700 yards rushing and over 5,000 passing, with 2 guards that are rookies. Sumpas has 14 games of experience in the Canadian Football League. He gets better every single game out, and he will be their nominee for outstanding rookie, should be, and I think he should be a front runner.
Well, Pilon was saying yesterday what a throwback kid he is, and how well he's fit in. 2nd and 3. And Reynolds should have the first down. By the way, they took a timeout just before. They nearly took a time count violation. That's why they took the timeout, and a little scrap going on down there. I'm not sure. Well, that's Pilon.
Pilon and Scott Schultz.
Yeah. But there's no question that offensive line's better when Jeff Pilon's back. He's the senior stamp in terms of service, and he's got all kinds of things wrong with the shoulders, and they just somehow strapped him up and sent him back out.
Well, when you started the year, if you're a Calgary Stampeder fan, you thought that the offensive line was going to be the huge issue that they would have this season at the beginning of the year, and it has not been at all.
Everybody thought that.
Yeah.
First down. And it's speed Joffrey Reynolds time. Fumbles the football. And it looks like the Stamps got back on it. Rob Lazio, the other vet. Center and former Rough Rider.
Yeah, Lazio gets it, and it was Sean Lucas that stripped the ball from Joffrey Reynolds. Lazio's playing with a bad hand as well. So the 2 veterans playing hurt, but it was Sean Lucas who ripped the ball out of there, gave Saskatchewan a chance to get the turnover. Lazio right on the spot with some hustle on the backside, because here comes Lucas, and he rips. You can see he punches the ball out with his right hand.
4th fumble of the year for Reynolds, but they've lost only 1 of them. And Burris guns that incomplete. Tried to thread the needle to Copeland, and it failed to connect.
This time the needle one. And it was Omar Morgan, number 1, with a great break. He read the eyes of Henry Burris. Rambo was gone by him. He was deep, but Morgan was sitting in that zone, just knocked it down.
So Bert Dales has to come on.
There's 60 tackles for Omar Morgan on this season. It's a lot for a corner.
Because they've reportedly lost power at the stadium, at McMahon Stadium, with a score 27-5. That's all we know at this point. But
the good news is, David, that we have a football.
Yeah.
So if we need to, we can play a little game. Dave and I against you too.
Oh,
we go. What was I thinking?
Yeah, exactly.
What am I thinking?
Well, hey, I've It's okay. No, I got
Hands,
I got
move. What do you got?
Chelsea.
Well, you got a little. You could be a little Westland Dressler.
Let's talk about that. That's right. I would like to do that. Okay, 27-5. Calgary's been all over Saskatchewan ever since Michael Bishop was picked in the end zone, and Calgary took it the other way. This is Calgary's game through and through. What do you see, Jock?
Well, I see Michael Bishop not playing bad football. He just isn't. He isn't getting the kind of support that he had last week from his receivers. The receivers are playing great. They're just not making those phenomenal plays that we saw them making last week. So I don't really have a problem with Bishop's play except for the turnovers. That's the story of the game.
I do. I have a problem with Michael's play. I've been watching his eyes, and particularly when he's calling his own plays. What's happening with Michael, and it does happen when you start calling your own plays, is you forget about your eyes, and he is looking to his receiver, and he's not getting off his receiver, and he's bringing everybody into play. Therefore, those windows are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. They've turned the ball over 4 times, and it's cost them the lead right now, and 13 points off of those turnovers. And to me, that's the difference. So Michael's got to watch this on film. Coach Miller's got to be able to sit down with him. Paul LaPolice has got to sit down with him, and they've got to notice this and correct this as quickly as possible. Otherwise, it's going to be a continuing problem.
Now, is that why sometimes coaches like to take the play calling out of the quarterback's hands so the quarterback can just concentrate on his technique and his mechanics and doesn't have to be in a little bit of overwhelm because you're always anticipating the next play. So sometimes you don't concentrate on your physical.
You're not anticipating your own play when you're not calling your own plays. You're just looking to the sidelines, and your mind's not working for that 10, 15 seconds when players are coming back to the huddle. And when that's happening now, Michael Bishop is able to think about the next play and get a good idea what he wants to do in that down and distance in that certain situation, in that certain field zone on the field. So, and it's been working. It worked well for him last week, and it was worked well for him for the most part this week. But Michael's getting locked in on receivers, predetermined, and that's getting him into trouble.
We should talk a little bit about Calgary here. Because,
do we have to?
Well,
I just want to jump in over here.
All right,
go ahead. I find it interesting these two guys are talking about this. These are the two guys who love quarterbacks calling their own plays more than anybody.
I'm just telling you,
this isn't working.
I'm just telling you, this is what happens. This is the natural tendency. He needs to take the next step, and that's getting back to thinking and using his eyes to set up defenders.
But Chris, you've just pointed it out. I mean, I think it's exactly why coaches sometimes pull back from that. They suddenly think, well, you know, it's too hard for you to think about 2 things at once, and it is hard for anybody. I don't care who you are. And I think it's maybe what we'll see with Michael Bishop.
Well, we once got into a discussion on how you block Cameron Wake, right? And I was saying it's not so much that you worry about him, you worry about what you're going to do, the technique that you do. And I think sometimes players get so concerned about what their opponent is going to do to them, whether it be a quarterback, an offensive tackle, an offensive, any position, that they forget to just master their own techniques. That's why the key to success in football is concentrating on the execution, not necessarily living in the future, not always being worried about what they can only do so much on defense. So you concentrate on yourself and master your own technique, then everything else will kind of fall into place.
Now, Matt, you have we've talked about this before. There are quarterbacks, some who are better when they're not calling their own plays, right?
Well, yeah,
I think Kevin Glenn has said sometimes, you know, I'd rather just.
And Anthony Calvillo said that in the past as well, and he said it this year.
I know that goes against everything you say. I'm just saying there are pivots out there that would rather just execute.
It's a preference. It's a preference, and you know, I think Michael Bishop's embraced this opportunity, but it's early in his play calling career. You know, for him to have mastered that, it's going to take some time, and in the process, he's struggling for in the Western Conference. You know, looking for that first place spot, and it's very difficult. You know, it's a monumental task that he's taken on, and you're going to struggle early.
Made even more difficult with the fact that he's missing just a few of his offensive weapons, mainly his all-star running back, and the fact that he's facing that Calgary defense, which is aggressive.
Well, that's the story of the game, because they've held Saskatchewan off the board without even 1 touchdown.
That's right.
And in all the different ways you can score in the Canadian Football League, a field goal, a touchdown, an extra point, a single, a safety, there's multiple ways to score. When you hold a team without even 1 touchdown, you got to give a lot of credit to the Calgary defense.
I had a chance to talk to Eric Tillman before the game, and you know, Eric, he's always telling you, giving us the injury updates, because I think it's important for people to know that his team is playing with one hand often tied behind his back, but they're going into this game with 3 offensive linemen missing from their starting rotation. He also made the point to me that out of 14 games this year, only twice have they had the same starting 5 offensive linemen playing together. So that is huge. I don't. The communication between offensive linemen is critical. Not just losing the talent that you're losing, but that chemistry between them.
And as factual as that may be, Calgary is going. Who cares? We're going to take advantage of this. And they're going to go out there and just going to pummel them. And that's exactly what they've been doing today. Michael Bishop, they got a good feel of the way he calls the game last week, this week. They've watched those films, and they've shut him down based on what he's calling.
Yeah, and as we pointed out at halftime, they're missing a guy like Mike Labinjo, Wes Lysak in the middle of their defense. Every team deals with injuries. We know, and we've talked a lot about Saskatchewan's injuries, but the other teams are going, cry me a river on that one.
Hey, I'm just trying to support the Saskatchewan fans,
I'm just trying to say, all of a sudden, a little late for that. Thanksgiving, all of a sudden, trying to suck up there, eh, Turkey boy?
Just
okay. We are still trying to get our feedback from Calgary. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching the CFL on TSN.
Can I get a Slurpee?
Welcome back and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We sincerely apologize. We are still working on getting our feedback from McMahon Stadium, where the Calgary Stampeders at last report had a 21-5 lead, I beg your pardon, 27-5 lead over the Saskatchewan Roughriders in a game that is a battle for first place. It's been a one-sided battle at this point, so we will get you back to the stadium as soon as we possibly can. Now, earlier today, there was game one of our Thanksgiving Day doubleheader. This was far from a battle from first place. Montreal lost to Hamilton last week, and they hosted the Ticats today, and this one was one-sided, 42-11. Anthony Calvillo had a field day, 33 of 41, 371 yards passing, surpassing the 5,000-yard passing mark for the 5th time in his career. And the Alouettes get their 10th win of the season. They have already clinched first place in the East. All right, we are now told that everything is good to go back at McMahon Stadium, so let's return there now. Here again, Chris Cuthbert and Glenn Suter.
Thank you, David. We apologize for the full power outage we've had here that knocked us off the air. And just as we resume an 85-yard touchdown play, Henry Burris to Nick Lewis down the sidelines for a game-clinching touchdown.
Fights off a couple of tackles in the open field. Thought he might have been pushed out of bounds there by Scott Gordon, but wasn't. Not sure what the power outage was, but maybe it was Ken Miller just pulling the plug.
No outage in that Calgary offense as DeAngelis comes on to add the extra point. 34-5. All set up by a Milton Collins interception in the end zone. CFL on TSN, brought to you in part by CFL All-Star Voting. On now, go to futureshop.ca/all-star and vote for your favorite player today. 85-yard touchdown for Nick Lewis, his biggest play of the season, and his 9th touchdown catch. 34-5. And there's Mum. He just earned his sweet potato pie. Weston Gressler from the 6. And Jabari Arthur's got him wrapped up at the 26-yard line. The big touchdown came 2 plays after a Milton Collins interception of Michael Bishop in the Calgary end zone.
Well, Michael Bishop had just hooked up with Duran Walker for a 57-yarder while we were away, and then that interception gave the Calgary Stampeders the football back. Nick Lewis in one little catch on an out that looked innocent, and Lewis took it to the house. He now has 135 yards receiving on the afternoon.
So he is at 9:02 now. Darian Durant in relief. And Durant over the middle. He's got Michael Palmer with a catch up to the 50-yard line. So 5.5 minutes remaining. And Darian Durant in relief of Michael Bishop. 5 turnovers in the game have resulted in 20 points off turnovers for Calgary.
Yeah, and I'm going to give the credit, though, here. You've got to give it to the defensive staff of Calgary Stampeders and their answer to Michael Bishop's rollout offense. Well, that's been the difference. Juwan Armour's been part of it. I mean, he has been one of the guys that have been the zappers, and he's down at the bottom of your screen, number 2. And he's not been the only one. Charleston Hughes has had a good game. but they have really smothered the quarterback's ability to run around, which would be Michael Bishop or now Darian Durant, and that was an adjustment made from a week ago, and give Chris Jones credit. He found the answer to this rollout offense for Saskatchewan.
2nd and 20. Here they come again. Durant steps up and has to take off. And he's forced out at the 52-yard line. Brandon Browner with the bump out of bounds. It'll be 3rd and about 8.
So not completely Michael Bishop's fault. I mean, you know, they're giving Darian Durant some reps here with this game in hand for Calgary. Not completely Bishop's fault, because the scheme against him was pretty good with Calgary in this one. But Bishop still battles that inconsistency. He has the great game a week ago where you thought, that's the Michael Bishop, the potential Michael Bishop that can take command of a game. And then the inconsistency over this week.
3rd and 8. More pressure. Justin Phillips. Ball's loose. And flagged down as the Stampeders have the football. Pat McDonald comes up with it. After the other Canadian defensive end, Justin Phillips, unloaded on Darian Durant.
Well, the fact that Darian Durant does not have his helmet right now may indicate that it was a high hit.
Major foul, face mask, Calgary number 44 during the play, 15 yards from the point of last scrimmage, and an automatic first down.
Or a face mask.
So they march it down into Calgary territory, down to the Stampeder 43, a first down.
Well, Justin Phillips was free.
And he just removal of the helmet.
Yeah, he hooked that face mask. I don't think he did it on purpose. He went for the tackle here, ducked his head, and then his finger hooked around it as he went down. It just ripped the helmet right off of Darian Durant.
Stu Ford now in the game at running back. Dressler. Lenny Walls brings him down at the 37-yard line. Previous 10 Saskatchewan possessions, 6 punts, 2 interceptions, a fumble, turnover on down. So 4 turnovers, 6 punts on their last 10 possessions prior to this one.
Yeah, and they made some adjustments offensively in that 3rd quarter, but you know, a penalty here, a penalty there, and they lost the war in the special teams as well in this game.
And that pass for Dressler, and he was exposed, and Brandon Browner unloaded on Weston Dressler. And Dressler shows you how tough he is. That was one heck of a hit.
Well, he had one earlier on Neil Hughes in the very similar play where Hughes from the backfield came out to the flat on an out route like that, and Brandon Browner sits out there, times that up. The receiver's looking back to the football, doesn't see him coming, and he'll bring it.
So it's 3rd down once again, 3rd and 4. And the blitz again. Shannon James gets there first. And they have another meeting at the quarterback. As the Stampeders moving in for the kill. So 2:57. Barrick Neely in to relieve Henry Burris. Second appearance of the season for Neely. And heads off to Joffrey Reynolds. And we're told we're still having some audio problems. We apologize for that. A full power outage downstairs here at McMahon.
A workmanlike afternoon for Henry Burris. He started the game off with a big long bomb to Kenyon Rambo, 81-yard touchdown throw in his first series. Got himself over 300 yards, avoided the key turnovers. Workmanlike afternoon for Burris, who keeps his team on a roll. They hold on for this next 2:30, which it looks like they will, have first place in the West.
9th 300-yard game for Henry Burris this season. Barrick Neely, quarterback draw, and he'll run for first down. And bounces off contact, and Mike McCullough has to track him down all the way at the 32 A high school product of the Dallas area who was compared to Casey Printers as a high school phenom. Shows you a little what he can do on the ground.
Well, his second carry in Canadian football. His first went for 8 yards. This one a whole lot more as he doesn't hook slide. Takes the hit there from Scott Gordon, who thought he could just throw his body in there and that Neely would go down, and he didn't.
And it has turned out to be a stampede here at McMahon today. 30-yard run by Neely. First down, Calgary. John Cornish in a tailback. Big hole. Sean Lucas will drag him down at the 9, but they're shredding the usually impressive Saskatchewan defense.
And what's impressive about John Cornish as he gets a chance to play is not necessarily his average, which is great. It's over 8 yards, and this will help it, this run, in mop-up duty for the most part for John Cornish. But what I like about it is that he doesn't get a lot of reps on offense. Has 17 special teams tackles coming in, leading the Calgary Stampeders. And you know, I think if you're not starting and you can contribute on the teams, you're a valuable member of your football team.
Still hard to believe that he and Calvin McCarty were in the same offensive set at Vancouver Area High School. Cornish again looking for the corner, and it's closed down. On a play by Omar Morgan. Tonight's game story brought to you by Molson Canadian. This is our beer.
There's the 81-yarder from Kenyon Rambo to start the game off. Nick Lewis over 100 yards, over 130 yards on this game. Had his 85-yard touchdown catch. The Riders turned the ball over because the Stamps on defense had found the answer. They cut Michael Bishop off. They didn't let him roll out and get the corner like he did last week, and that was a big difference in the game.
Stamps have it at the 6, second and goal. Demetrius Summers now in running back, takes the handoff, and Summers scores easily. And it's an emphatic win here in Calgary this afternoon.
Henry Burr has told me that it was their best work week of the season, that the focus was there, the concentration was there. They just felt that the importance of this game, to be the front runner in the West, to get that lead, to try and separate and lock up home field advantage and be one game away from what they call the show, the Grey Cup Championship in Montreal.
Extra point added.
Not done yet, but this puts the Calgary Stampeders in the driver's seat.
Yes, John Hupnagel made that clear. This does not clinch first place, but if the Stamps don't win, he didn't feel like first place was attainable.
Calgary will finish the season with Winnipeg, Hamilton, and then a home game against the BC Lions.
47. After the play, will apply 15 yards on the kickoff.
Maurice Lloyd tagged with another penalty with 83 seconds left.
Saskatchewan, most importantly, will get some injured players back with a couple of games to go.
Time now for the TSN turning point.
That was in the second quarter when the play was extended by Henry Burris, and he found Jermaine Copeland, who was not open initially, but then picked up the scramble rules. Took off to an open area in the back of the end zone. Burris scrambled around, bought himself some time, got Copeland the touchdown, and the Calgary Stampeders didn't look back.
Gave them an 18-4 lead. They did not look back. The TSN turning point brought to you by the 2008 GMC Sierra Professional Grade. 3 touchdown passes for Burris, 31 on the season.
And we talk about awards in this game this afternoon. We talk about Weston Dressler and Dimitri Sumpas as rookie nominees. And there is an outstanding player nominee in Henry Burris. It's got to be.
DeAngelis kicks it into the end zone. It'll be conceded for a single point, 42-5. So in the season series, Saskatchewan won here first, right at McMahon, but the next week, John Hufnagel's team answered. It was closer than maybe it really was. It was a 30-4 game there, and Ken Miller's team rallied valiantly in the fourth quarter with 3 touchdowns to make it 30-25. Miller's team came up with a big win last week, but then the Stamps answered back again to take the season series. They split the games, but decisively on points. And the points were decided prior to today, but not much question now. Don't have to worry about that decision not to try the field goal last week by Saskatchewan.
It's irrelevant now.
Darian Durant looking for Getzlaff, and here's Getzlaff with another catch down to the 40. And it has become a lopsided game, but I still think a sub-turning point was that pass interference call on Getzlaff inside the 5.
Yeah, the Riders had a lot of ground to make up at that point. Had Getzlaff not got the call there, not got the pass interference call, and Saskatchewan scored, they were still 3 scores behind.
34-yard pickup for Getzlaff, and Durant airs it out looking for Rob Bagg, and well covered on the play as Dwight Anderson on the corner was there again.
But I mentioned the return of some injured players for Saskatchewan. Andy Fantus, DJ Flick, Wes Cates on offense, all very close.
Anton McKenzie, they might have all 4 next week.
We didn't hear a lot from John Chick on defense here in this game this afternoon, but this is his first game back playing with the cast, so John Chick will be better next week. You know, Saskatchewan nowhere near out of this, and they could still catch it. It's not done yet.
Hamilton, Edmonton, Toronto, the finish for Saskatchewan. That pass complete. Bag in front of Anderson, who thought he might have a shot at an interception.
It's just there's been so much emphasis on the total points for and against for all the teams in the West, because I know in my memory in the Canadian Football League, which is over 20 years now, I don't remember the West Division ever being this close. We're coming into this week, all the teams were tied for first, and any one of the 4 teams could have finished first or fourth and crossed over and still may. It's not decided yet, so points for and against, so important.
Third down, Durant lost his footing and has dropped back at the 45. It's been that kind of day. And that's the 7th turnover for the Roughriders on a very long afternoon.
So let's take a look at this West Division, because this game is in the books. So Calgary improves to 10-5 with 20 points, and there's the remaining games. So the BC Lions have Edmonton, Toronto, Calgary. You know, and again, nothing is determined completely yet, although Calgary now has that season series with Saskatchewan.
Edmonton has the season series with Calgary. BC and Calgary play in the final week, so we're not done yet. But although Saskatchewan falls 2 back essentially with the tiebreaker against Calgary, they're 4 points back of the Stampeders with this loss.
Basically, you're going to have to stay tuned to the entire rest of the regular season to see where everyone will finish in the West Division.
Because if we get any deeper into this, I'm really going to get confused. As they run down the clock. A big early play from Burris. Tarambo got it started. A late play to Nick Lewis was icing on the cake. And it was a full-scale stampede. 42-5. Calgary wins it. And they're the first team in the West to take 10 victories on the season and the lead in the CFL West. A thorough victory as these 2 teams split their 4 games, but Calgary now has the upper hand. The final score, 42-5 in favor of the Stampeders.